Hold on tight, because Bambi just broke the silence and her words are not just shocking, they're dangerous. What if I told you that the entire court drama we witnessed last week was nothing more than a well-crafted lie? What if the man portraying the victim had been manipulating events behind the scenes the entire time? She didn't come to cry, she came to completely upend the love and hip-hop industry. She's not just clapping back though. She's bringing proof that Stevie J allegedly lied under oath and tarnished her reputation to cover up his own shady activities. And guess what? It's just naming names. And one of those names was sitting next to Stevie in court. This isn't just drama. It's a conspiracy of betrayal, and there may even be jail time involved. Before you scroll, ask yourself if you're prepared to hear the truth that Bambi was never supposed to share. It began like a Bambi who had been silent for months while the internet dragged her name through every gutter imaginable, has finally spoken out, and what she just revealed, let's just say that nobody is safe, not even Mama D, Stevie J, or the entire court system. However, by the time the sun came up, it had escalated into a full-blown media frenzy. Sit tight, because isn't just a clapback. This is war, and Bambi is bringing receipts. Before we get to what she said, let's rewind the tape a little. That's now entangled in what may be the messiest reality TV fallout of the decade. We're talking lies, betrayals, manipulation, and a whole new layer of scandal that nobody saw coming. The entire internet has been making fun of Bambi for allegedly being the mastermind behind Little Scrappy's collapse. But something even more nefarious was going on behind closed doors. Stevie J, the same man who has made headlines for everything, from industry scams to love triangles, was reportedly acting as puppet master, according to Bambi. Wasn't merely stirring things up. He was fabricating stories to put in court documents, influencing testimony, and making Bambi a villain for a crime she claimed she didn't commit. How did we get here? It was just a family feud so poisonous that it made the Kardashians appear like the Brady Bunch, and Mama D couldn't leave as usual. Of the drama for months, publicly accusing Bambi of ruining her son's life while befriending Stevie J as if he were a knight in shining armor. However, Bambi's silence concealed something much darker, accusing her of being intimidated behind the scenes by legal loopholes and pushed. Let's talk about the alleged court lies, because when Bambi claims that Stevie J's name is everywhere, she's not joking. Although the sources are anonymous, they are reliable, according to Bambi's camp, who also assert that Stevie provided the court with several informal statements via back channels. One source claimed that although the screenshots appeared authentic, the timestamps were all incorrect, suggesting that someone had copied and pasted messages to make Bambi appear bad. What were those claims? Instead, half-truths, edited text messages, and even fabricated conversations that portrayed Bambi as a manipulative, vindictive wife with a grudge against Little Scrappy's family. Kicker, these documents weren't even meant to be admitted in court. However, because of some dubious connections and purported backdoor deals, they were surreptitiously added to the official records without Bambi's legal team being informed. The courts took this seriously, and while all as usual, the internet tore Bambi apart with memes, TikToks, and reaction videos, calling her the worst thing that had ever happened to Scrappy. However, none of them stopped to question why she wasn't speaking up, because, let's face it, in this game, silence is guilt. Now that she's speaking, everyone who jumped people on that hate train are questioning themselves, because this is the part that nobody anticipated. Bambi provided proof in the form of call logs, unpublished texts, and private direct messages that purportedly demonstrated that Steve J was coordinating statements with other parties involved in the case. And guess who else appears in those messages? Yep, Mama D. She was allegedly involved as well, helping to create the story that Bambi was the aggressor, manipulator, and mastermind while appearing innocent for the cameras. However, the most damning evidence is an audio recording that Bambi's attorney claims shows Stevie speaking to a third party over the phone. in which he is heard saying, we simply need her out of the way so that Scrappy can get full custody. Once she folds, if that is true, and we are still awaiting audio confirmation, it could completely alter the situation, because it would not only be manipulation, but also conspiracy, obstruction, and grounds for a new trial. Twitter is ablaze with postings like Bambi was framed. I owe her an apology, far, and fans are losing it. Stevie J himself may even be called upon to testify not as a witness, but as a suspect. I can't believe that Stevie J is actually the devil's intern. Celebrities are also taking notice of the fact that the man has been operating undetected for so long. K. Michelle uploaded the hacked text messages on her account with the remark, "Who?" Tamar Braxton wrote, "Betrayal at this levels should be criminal. That girl deserves it." But I always knew Bambi was too quiet for it to be the real story. Tranquility, just hours after Bambi's interview, went viral. Peace, even Scrappy, who has remained largely silent throughout this affair, posted a mysterious narrative in which he stated that even if it crawls, the truth always comes out. It's unclear to those who are reading between the lines what side Stevie J is no longer on. But as the fallout from Bambi's bombshell settles, it's evident that the story has changed significantly because rather than appearing as a manipulative, ex-wife Bambi now appears to be the victim of one of the dirtiest smear campaigns reality TV has ever produced. And public opinion is now leaning in her favor, may finally be held accountable for much more than just some misbehavior in the studio. But don't think for a moment that this is over, because Bambi's next statement makes everything seem like child's play. Bambi didn't stop there, though. She looked directly into the camera with the same composed poise that made social media uneasy, and revealed something shocking that even the most hateful fan pages would not anticipate. You want to discuss lies? Let's discuss how Steve J used devious tactics to prevent cameras from entering that courtroom. Discuss sealed documents that shouldn't have been there. And discuss why I was gagged for months while this man smeared my name. Whether you're on the Bambi or Chaos teams, you couldn't help but notice the change in the room. It seemed as though she wasn't just criticizing Stevie J. Rather, she was challenging the whole hip-hop and love production apparatus to speak up. When she finally said NDAs don't, Twitter exploded with theories that went out of control. Was she talking about Mona Scott? Was there a big erupt? Was she being manipulated from the inside out? Everyone remained conveniently silent. But then the real chaos began when screenshots purportedly taken from Bambi's Instagram showed messages that were purportedly from her private direct messages between her and a VH1 production assistant, implying that Stevie J had staged some episodes to portray her as the antagonist while concealing his own problems. Whether these were genuine or not didn't even matter. The internet decided they were gospel, and fan accounts began pulling clips and slow-motion footage from old episodes. It seems like everyone wanted to think that Bambi had been the victim all along when they heard breakdowns saying things like, "Look at her face here. She knew something was up," or "Look at how Stevie J interrupted her during this reunion X-book manipulation." It wasn't your normal victim story. Instead of pleading for pity, Bambi was planning a methodical takedown. Her next step was a strange live stream promo that was put to her story and was simply labeled with the words "unburied" and a skull emoji. It was set for Friday at 9 p.m. Let's now discuss the time that she zoomed in on the date, January 16th, saying, "This is a statement made under oath and it's a lie." The internet stopped breathing, and the live stream went live with no glitz or filter. Just Bambi in a black hoodie sitting in a bare room with court transcripts in her lap, flipping through them like receipts at a messy family dinner. Bambi went on. "He told the court that I made up abuse allegations and that I orchestrated a smear campaign. But what he didn't mention, and what no one wants to mention, is that Stevie J was already under suspicion of I wasn't the only cast member warned not to speak during the witness tampering investigation. Other cast members also became silent. Suddenly, they asked themselves, why am I in this situation? This wasn't just spilling tea, it was pouring gasoline on an already blazing fire. Fans started tagging Carly Red, Spice, Tokyo Vanity, and anyone who had been even when you thought the night couldn't get any messier. Bambi played a voice memo. Yes, a voice recording purportedly from Stevie J himself sent to an unnamed producer, and people demanded answers about why so many people had quickly backed off after initially defending Bambi. They were silenced, threatened, and bought off. I don't care what we have to do, just make sure that courtroom footage never airs. I'm not about to get dragged into no perjury case over that girl, she said in a scratchy, irritated voice. People began examining the voice memo, saying it was like tossing a nuclear bomb into a scandal that was already out of hand. Slowing it down frame by frame and running it through audio software to see if it was indeed Stevie J. The resemblance was striking, even if it was a fake. The damage was done, and for nearly 48 hours, there was a loud silence in Stevie J's camp. Meanwhile, little Scrappy was unprepared for what came next, remember? Since his embarrassing appearance at the last reunion when he avoided every question with a false laugh and a glazed expression. This man had all but disappeared from the public eye. However, now that everyone was curious about his position, in this fight he made a mistake by reposting his IG stories in a suspicious way. With the remark, "When you lie so much, you forget the truth," Scrappy posted a meme of a Bambi wearing clown makeup. Instead of damaging her reputation, the post backfired right away, with commenters flooding his direct message asking him to clarify his allegiance to when old videos of Steve J calling him a snake and toxic to women appeared. People started to wonder what had changed. One anonymous former assistant who opportunistically leaked a resignation letter to a gossip blog claimed that Steve J and Scrappy had been secretly trying to get Bambi banned from in the purported document. The assistant stated that there were group chats in which the two discussed how simple it was to gaslight the fanbase. Of course, neither Scrappy nor Stevie directly addressed this. But to make matters worse, Bambi revealed a shocking revelation about herself on the same day that the letter was leaked. She uploaded a picture of an official-looking envelope with the remark, "You guys forgot who you were messing with?" and the words "Fulton County Court" barely visible. Fans went into full conspiracy mode, wondering whether she was filing a defamation lawsuit or pressing charges, or if this was all part of a larger scheme. Within hours, fictitious documents started to circulate, alleging that Bambi had subpoenaed both Stevie J and Scrappy for a reopened case involving manipulated footage, tampered evidence, and emotional distress. This was a racketeering-style case that could attract producers, executives, and even network heads. Nothing was verified, but the story took off, with people creating TikToks that acted out courtroom scenes and Reddit threads outlining the Bambi conspiracy timeline. Throughout it all, Bambi didn't post a single word or emoji, which only strengthened her silence. And then the shocking turn of events occurred. On a live stream hosted by a well-known YouTube gossip channel, an anonymous person claiming to be a former Love and Hip Hop editor came forward with a distorted voice and a hoodie covering their face. They stated there were episodes where we had to cut entire scenes. They had already chosen her because they wanted a villain. At that point, other purported insiders began to come forward, with one claiming that Bambi had been singled out for being too vocal, and another claiming that Mona Scott had personally advised her to play the game or be cut out, regardless of whether these individuals were speaking the truth or simply riding the wave of clout. What mattered was that Bambi's story was no longer solely hers. It had become a lightning rod and a symbol for all the women on the show who had been portrayed as ungrateful, messy, or bitter, and now they were watching. Bambi's legal team confirmed in a statement that they were investigating all available legal remedies in response to defamation, character assassination, and evidence suppression. This was lawyer speak for "We're coming for your necks," and it appeared as though war was about to break out. The internet went from chaotic drama to full-fledged legal warfare the moment Bambi's legal team confirmed the words character assassination. Rumor pages started claiming that VH1 executives were holding emergency meetings. And some even conjectured that Mona Scott had secretly flown to Atlanta under a false identity. The industry was rocked, but Bambi remained incredibly silent. She didn't post, update her stories, or use cryptic emojis until Friday night, when she suddenly reappeared with a single screenshot and an email address for her legal team with the subject line request for private mediation and the sender, a senior network executive. The internet exploded, and fans began analyzing every word of that email. Was VH1 attempting to settle? Was this evidence that they knew she had actual receipts? If they were offering mediation, what were they trying to conceal? That's when Bambi released a single. You don't ask for peace if you haven't done anything wrong, according to her story. Twitter timelines flood TikToks instantly, and hashtags like Justice for Bambi exposed Stevie J. And love and hip-hop lies trended for 48 hours straight. However, during this time, the real kicker came from an unexpected source. Eric Dixon. Yes, Eric Lee. Listen, I don't mess with Bambi, never have. But this time I believe her, and y'all don't even know the half of it. Claims Scrappy's ex, who had a renowned spat with Bambi for years while sipping wine on Instagram Live. After a nearly hour-long drunken truth bomb, Erica revealed that Bambi wasn't lying and that production had manipulated several stories about how Stevie J had been pulling strings from the shadows for years. The worst part, she claimed, was that Scrappy always knew and used to come home and complain about Stevie telling producers what scenes to air, claiming that Bambi had formally filed a civil suit for emotional distress, defamation, and malicious production interference. Fictitious court documents were now making the rounds on blogs, naming more than just Stevie. She said this casually, as if she wasn't dropping a nuke at that point. Although no one could verify the lawsuit, the streets believed it anyway. In the meantime, Stevie J made an attempt to retaliate by posting a heavily filtered Instagram. However, a number of producers, the network, and even some cast members were willing participants in a protracted campaign of public humiliation. The damage was done, though, because the fans in the comment section were not on his side. Dragged him up and down, posting clown emojis, calling him the real manipulator, and even quoting Bambi's line, "NDAs don't scare me anymore." But what followed sent shockwaves. He had called Bambi a bitter liar and a washed-up storyline chaser. In the video, a former showrunner from the franchise, let's call him Rico, confirmed the existence of an internal blacklist, a literal list of cast members who were labeled difficult, non-compliant, or uncontrollably. An anonymous podcast interview that was shared not only with fans of love and hip-hop, but also with the entire reality TV community. Follow false narratives that reveal their actual trauma or fight on cue. Yes, Bambi's name was on that list. But Rico also casually revealed other names, some shocking, some obvious, of women who were abruptly fired from the show without a farewell. These women had alluded to lawsuits before disappearing, leaving the fans stunned. Reddit threads became investigations, comments became exposes, and all of a sudden, it was about a system that ate up women suffering for ratings and spit them out when they were too intelligent, but Bambi wasn't letting them win this time. And baby, she said bluntly in a lengthened-down interview with a major gossip channel, I spent years letting the world believe I was the problem, claiming that I was toxic, angry, and aggressive, when, in fact, I was trying to survive a show that never wanted to tell my truth. Instead, they wanted a villain, and they paid Stevie to make that happen. Some of the confessionals were reshot weeks later, scripted, rehearsed, and edited to depict her as unreasonable. And when she attempted to quit, the producers threatened to sue her. She said, "Sure, I stayed one." She said producers promised Stevie J incentives for each cast member he could persuade against her, for breach of contract and publicly ruin her reputation. By the end of the interview, viewers were dumbfounded not only by her words, but also by the way she delivered them. She wasn't broken, she was angry, and she was just starting a huge PR shift the very next day. VH1 discreetly deleted a number of old videos from their YouTube channel that showed Bambi acting aggressively or unhinged. Fans quickly noticed and asked why the network was suddenly removing the videos. And on the same day, TMZ published an exclusive that Bambi's team was in early negotiations with the network to reach a deal behind closed doors. But Bambi retorted in her story that there would be no silence and that they were going all the way. At this point, people began placing bets on who would be subpoenaed. At first, fan pages were creating timeline charts and witness trees that resembled FBI documents. You couldn't browse social media without coming across a conspiracy theory about the Bambi scandal. But the ultimate blow came from an unexpected source. Little Scrappy's own cousin wrote in a since-deleted Facebook post, "You guys think Bambi is lying? I recall when Scrappy told Mama D that Mona told her to keep Bambi on a leash or she'd be removed from the show because they want to appear innocent." And just like that, Mama D was dragged back into the fire. Fans bombarded her with comments, demanding answers, and she went live the following day while drinking tea and sitting on her couch with her dog in her lap. Let's just say that she didn't deny anything I told them years ago, interfering with that. She answered, "Well, the devil is knocking now." Boy, Stevie would bring the devil to your front door. By the end of the week, this was more than just a reality TV controversy. It was a movement, with think pieces being written, petitions being started, and even celebrities starting to voice their opinions. Amber Rose shared Heart-Free Bambi on her Instagram story, and Tokyo Vanity tweeted, "Why did I walk away?" They take advantage of your suffering and sell it for views. When everyone thought it couldn't get any better, Bambi released a teaser for a full documentary which included unreleased behind-the-scenes footage. The tagline is confessionals, emails, receipts, and everything. You watch the show, now it's time to see the truth. The trailer alone received over 1 million views in just 2 days, and fans are already referring to it as hip-hop and surviving. Love. You can bet that the industry is freaking out because Bambi isn't just speaking up now. She's going to completely turn the table, and suddenly the Bambi's voice wasn't just heard. It reverberated across platforms and studios right into the center of a system that never anticipated her resistance, since the narrative changed forever. The question now is how many more voices are being silenced and how many stories are twisted and turned into drama. While the true suffering remains hidden, if this occurred, we've witnessed the drama and the laughter, but perhaps we were never meant to see the true truth. Now that Bambi has revealed those secrets that will rock everything, if all of this is true, then this isn't just a reality show. It's a fight for respect and truth. And every woman who refuses to be, it's time to talk. And every like, share, and comment helps expose the system. If you believe this story ends here, think again. What do you think? Is Bambi truly guilty? This all a setup against her. Are Stevie J and his crew really to blame? Or is there a bigger secret they're trying to hide? The truth never remains buried on web, and Bambi refuses to back down. The next bombshell is coming, and it's going to be even hotter. Subscribe, click the bell, and stay connected with me.